Hey guys, today we're going to look at two anchors, and they're both going to be made out of the same materials. And the question is, which anchor is safer, better? Which anchor would you use? So all we've got is we've got two gear placements. We're not going to be judging the gear placements today. They're both kind of garbage, but this isn't like an actual rock face, so I'm just using what I got here. So that's not part of the discussion. I know I wouldn't climb on nuts this shallow in the rock personally, but so we've got two gear placements. They're kind of offset, and all we've got to build an anchor out of is two slings, and we've got a couple of beaners for our master point. So our first option is what we're going to do is take both our slings, and we're just gonna make a magic X with both of them. And normally you don't use a magic X because it's not redundant, but because we have two slings, we can check that redundancy box. So we just put it in like this, we do our twist, and then we put our beaners through for our master point, make sure they're opposite and opposed, and of course lock them. And now let's just talk about the features of this anchor real quick. Because it's a magic sliding X, it will be self-equalizing, so that's a plus. Since we've doubled up our slings, it's now redundant, and these are rated for 22 kilonewtons because there's two of them. We should theoretically get 44 kilonewtons out of this, so should be extra strong. So that is option number one. So you can put in the comments what you think about that, but let's take a look at option number two. So for option number two, we're going to take one sling and attach it to one anchor point and the other sling to the other anchor point. And because we want them to meet in the middle, we're gonna actually double this one up because we don't want it that low. It's not gonna work. We do want it down here. All right. So we want them to meet in the middle, and we want them to be as close to equalized as possible. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this sling and we're just gonna tie a knot into it like that. There we go. And now they are about the same length. We're going to adjust this knot just a little bit. There we go. That's pretty good. All right. So anytime you're tying a knot to like equalize, you might be a little off. It's never going to be perfect, but you get it as close as you can. We'll adjust it just a little bit more. So this one might take a little longer to set up because you're, there we go. That's right where I want it. So that one might take a little longer to set up because you got to kind of fill with that knot just to try to get the equalization as good as you can. It's not going to be it's not self-equalizing. So if I go over here, now I'm all on this one. If I go over here, now I'm all on this one. So it's got that. Also, with this one, we've tied a knot in this sling, so this leg is only going to give us half the strength of this sling. So instead of the 22 kilonewtons, we might only be getting 11 kilonewtons out of here. We'll still have 22 over here, though. So that is our second option. So which option do you think is better, option one or option two? Leave your comments below, and you can pause the video and do that. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and give my opinion on which one I would build. And my opinion is that the better option is option number two, this one. And you might obviously be asking, but why? It's not as strong. It's not self-equalizing like the other one is. Well, here's why this one wins for me, and it comes down to redundancy. Now, I mentioned both anchors are redundant, technically, but there are better types of redundancy than others. So let's go back to our other anchor setup for just a second. And I can show you why I think it has one flaw. It actually has two flaws that, for me, are deal breakers. So the first problem, I think everybody probably spotted immediately because it's kind of a fundamental problem of the Magic X. And that is that even when you fix the redundancy issue by adding a second sling, you still have the problem that it's an extending anchor. I'll just put one beaner in there for demonstration. So this is great, but if one of these fails, it extends. And that can shock load your other anchor point and cause it to possibly fail next. And then you got nothing, obviously. So the extending thing is still a problem with the Magic X. But even bigger than that is what I mentioned earlier about redundancy. We've made this anchor technically redundant by adding a second sling. So now there's two instead of one. Problem is that what causes slings to fail? There's two reasons slings fail. One, they've been left outside for a long time in the elements and they've lost all their strength. Well, let's assume we're using good slings that are in good shape. So let's not worry about that for a second. Two is some sort of cutting force or abrasion that damages them and causes them to break. Even if you tie a knot in it and it's down to 11 kilonewtons, you're not going to see 11 kilonewtons in a climbing situation. So it's always going to be some sort of cutting force that causes a problem. So with this setup, if we introduce a cutting force at any place in this anchor, doesn't matter where it is, it's going to act on whatever's there. So it'll act on, like, say this is a sharp edge here and it's going over this. It'll act on all of the slings that are there, right? Both of them at the same time. So whatever cutting force is introduced in any place in this system, if it cuts through the slings, everything fails. And it's like, yeah, we've got two of them, but they're right next to each other. So it's going to act on both of them at the same time. It's not going to really help us out all that much. We go back to our other anchor. And now, when we introduce that, see, I told you these placements were garbage. So now when we introduce that cutting force, it doesn't matter where we put it, it's only going to hurt half of our anchor. We're still good. So we set it up like this. All right, I definitely didn't tie the knot in a very good spot that time. But now, if we put a cutting force wherever, it'll only cut one side, unless we put it like way down here, like, and it's getting them both. If one side fails, we've still got the other. So it's a redundancy that's actually giving us more security in this situation. So that's why this one, when properly built and adjusted so that it's actually, fairly equalized. Let's get this where we want it. There we go. That's better. Still a little off, but anyway, this, for my money, is better because it's a redundancy that actually adds more security, that actually makes the anchor less likely to fail. And so, I guess the point of this video is it's not just about checking all the boxes. It's like, okay, redundancy, check, did it. It's about understanding what we're trying to protect against. It's about understanding how the system works and knowing what will actually make it more secure. And when it comes to knowing what's stronger and what's weaker, it's really just about getting over that line of, is it strong enough? Knowing what kind of forces that we can encounter and just getting above the threshold so that we'll be able to deal with any of those forces. And once we pass that line, everything else, yay, it's 44 kilonewtons of strength. Well, big deal. That doesn't really help you when, they get cut, It doesn't really help you when you take a fall because you're not getting close to that ever. So anyway, this is my answer, but maybe that's just my opinion. I'm just one guy. So hash it out in the comments. What's better? Thanks for watching, guys.